Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Good to see you again, and we've got a matchup against my man David here. He's playing Enel, and boy do we have an actually insane match. This was like super fun, and I end up winning the dice roll here. I go first in this matchup. I like going first, just being able to flood the board and get that extra character onto, the board early enough for it to be, relatively useful. But man, this was such a good game. We ended up playing this day. I believe we had 4 matches before we got to top cut, and I went I went on a really good run this tournament, and had some hiccups here or there, but all the matches were just super solid. And I end up passing my first turn, no play, and he actually ends up playing down a Sanji. This is a bit of an interesting card. Wasn't expecting to see Sanji in this list, but if I'm being honest with you, his list is just very interesting. But we play Perona. This does get, I believe, the 0-cost event out of hand, and then a 6k swing is going to connect, and now we're going to see Sanji drawing a card here for him, and then replacing it with a card from the top of the deck. I will just go ahead and take this 7k swing though, so countering out of the 5 and then taking the 7 from Enel. I'll just go 5 into a Sanji. Takes it out pretty easy, and now brand new's gonna come down. I'm gonna take a look over the top 3. Unfortunately, we just only find Hina here. I'm not saying that Hina is like the worst thing to find, but it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. I'll go ahead and use Absalom, and having had Absalom in hand, it actually feels like maybe I was just prioritizing having more cards in trash, but feels like I should have just went 5 into life versus 5 into the Sanji there. But a 9 into life, I am just gonna have to take this one. Pretty aggressive swing. He's got a couple of choices here. Is going to put, it looks as though Soul Pocus in the top of his life. And so like I said, he does run a very interesting list, a little different than the norm, but he is going to counter out of the 5k swing from Perona, giving me a 1k counter Onami right there. And with 7 Dawn, I don't really have like incredible plays right here, but we do have a couple of decisions. So it looks as though our trash is looking super healthy. We ended up getting a lot of useful cards in there, but getting Perona off of the leader effect is going to trash a Kikunojo, and then Soul Pocus, I'm like, sure, you can just heal 1, that's fine. And I'll give him a 5 with Absalom as well, and then more than likely 4 for like a Kuzan or something. Oh no. Oh. I'm just going to hit him with another 5 with the brand new. But now we've got Cracker coming down, which is a little scary considering we are at 3 life. And yeah, we are at 3 life. And he's going to be able to use that Cracker ability to potentially get a double attack swing through on me. But I'll play brand new, picking up the Great Eruption. I believe I was looking for more counter power there, but I think we still have a good amount between a lot of the 2Ks and 1Ks in hand. I just don't want to give him both Sabos if possible. But a 1 at Dawn attached to Cracker will make this a 7k swing. This could be, I would imagine this would be at life, but it could be at one of the characters if he's just really prioritizing that. But we're going to see a 7-cost Mom. I'm just going to go ahead and let him heal 1 here. And now a 7k swing into Perona. I am just going to let it go. Yeah, it feels all right for me. But a 5 into Absalom is a little inconvenient. I didn't really want to counter out with Sabo there, but I felt like I kind of had to. This would be a great turn to get down Gecko Moria if we do have it in hand. I'm actually not entirely certain if we do. It doesn't look as though. Yeah, so this is more than likely going to be like attempting to hog back or potentially draw into 8-cost Moria right here if possible. It does look like we do not, and just end up seeing another Sabo. I'm going to rest 3 though for Hina, bringing down that Linlin to a 1-cost. And now I can just attack into Cracker while also killing the Linlin off the board. So love to see that. One of the brand news is getting trashed right here, but a 6k into Cracker is a relatively easy counter out, but he does choose to let it go. Since it was a 6k, because we are on equal life right now, I think maybe just one 5k swing into life would have been the better option to, you know, maybe get my opponent onto equal life so that it wasn't as easy of a counter. But 5k here is going to take the last life, and he is just going to trash that Cracker, though, picking up another life. And now this is kind of the weird spot for me as a Gecko player into Enel. It feels like I want to get down to 2 life, but I didn't really give myself a chance to, because now Yamato just goes and wreaks havoc with my life being at 3. It's a bit of a weird spot, but it is what it is. And excuse me, guys, I do have some allergies right now. You know, the beginning of April is right around the corner, and in Virginia, we just get all that pollen, and it ends up getting to you at some point. I tell you what. But now I've got a pretty well-established board. I can just continuously swing 5, getting some cards out of hand. I'm going to swing 7 here, though, using my leader effect. Hopefully we have a Dr. Hogback, but I'm not entirely sure if we do. Perona definitely. So it doesn't look like I have a Hogback, so I'm just going to use Perona to just keep getting cards out of hand. Luckily, get a Yamato from my opponent here, though. Very pleased with that. And now does have another potential trigger. This could be, I mean, honestly, there's never a trigger that isn't annoying, but it is Momonosuke. Just going to use that to cycle out the leader effect. And now with 5 Dawn remaining, I think I can just get 2 more 5k swings and play Sabo if I want to, but I'm actually just going to decide to be really aggressive here. I'm just going to swing 7, see what my opponent does. You know, we still have 4 Dawn remaining, so I can get a 9k swing as well. This is going to be an Onami, which was really unfortunate. I wanted to get as many cards as possible out of hand, but unfortunately, Absalom does get taken out by Onami. Forcing the 0 cost event, it does get rid of the 8 cost category, but another Yamato right here just does the job. Gets another heal in, and my whole board is just susceptible to attacks right now. And that is going to be a 6k into brand new, and then a Yamato to KO my Hina. I've got 1 character on board and a dream, staring down 2 Yamatos. This is not where I wanted to be. I was really liking our spot there for a bit, but I decided to get a little greedy, and that Onami was very punishing. Very, very punishing. Yeah, I think Sabo was probably the correct play last turn, and then just swinging 5, just getting multiple cards out of hand. It would have done the same job, you know what I mean? And then all of my characters would have been protected from the Yamato effect this turn, so simple oversight on my part, but I do have my opponent down to 2 cards, and now I just have to think, like, Yamato kind of has to go. Yep, and so I'm just going to swing 13 into Yamato, and I am going to trash the Sabo, unfortunately. Finally getting a Dr. Hogback into trash, which is great, but I am actually going to play this Absalom because I don't want to give him the chance of potentially healing with Momonosuke and putting Hiyori back into life. So Absalom is just going to get it KO'd. I did get rid of one of the Yamatos. I don't want to attack with Perona here because I know that I need this swing next turn. I'm kind of putting my opponent on a clock and just seeing, you know, where they'll go with some of this. Now, this is always inconvenient when you see a Hiyori, allows them to set up the top of their life. It does end up being a Capone Beige, and then healing once again with the 8 cost Katakuri. I mean, that just doesn't feel good. It's like right when you think you've got your opponent right where you want them, it just doesn't work out the way you want. But I think our only options here would have been Ice Age if we did have it, to try and remove not only the Yamato but the 8-cost Katakuri. Just with what we have in hand, it's not looking super promising in being able to remove both, but I know that I can't leave both of these active and play Sabo. I think that we more than likely just end up losing that. So I decided to actually go a little bit risky of a route, and I go 10, hoping that my opponent doesn't have a 2k counter since they had just played Hiyori. This actually ends up working out really well to our benefit, and I'll go ahead and swing with Absalom, and I pick up the Ice Age finally, but just a little too late. Not exactly the timing I was looking for, so I might just have to trash it right here, which is a little unfortunate. Yeah, Ice Age and Dr. Hogback, and I'll just go ahead and pass it back over. I'm just like kind of praying that my opponent doesn't top deck another Yamato. Having seen, I believe it was 3 already, is pretty strong. Oh, looks like the table got smacked around a little bit. We get in a different camera angle here. But a 10k into Absalom, unfortunately, I can't get out of that. I'm just going to have to let it go. I mean, realistically, I could have, but Absalom still would have died. So just a massive swing into life. We get super lucky and get a great eruption here. We're both kind of laughing about it because I know, I'm like, dude, I think I have to go for game here. And yeah, this ends up being like kind of a disaster for my opponent. Forcing him to trash one here is like giving us the potential lethal that we need. But if you remember, when he set back up his life, he did put a Capone Beige in the top of his life. So we don't have game. As much as I think that I do, we do not. So I'm probably just going to end up seeing, you know, how like a little 5k works. But he gives me a Hiyori 2k, which makes me feel like he does have a lot of counter power in hand, but it's still just not clear. It's not clear whatsoever. And I'm talking to him about it right now. I'm like, dude, even if I want to go for game, there are just so many outs that you have, which are kind of terrifying. And yeah, I'm definitely thinking about that in my head right now. Whether I'm going to be trying to go for game or whether I'm just going to try and get the 8-cost Katakuri off the board, and it's exactly what we're going to do. We are just going to swing massive into the Katakuri, bringing back Dr. Hogback, finally getting some usage out of him, and I need some sort of like 2k counter more than likely, but I'm just going to return a couple cards. And what card are we picking back up? We are just going to take the 2k Perona right now. I'm just going to pass. Yeah, just going to pass turn. As much as I wanted to attack with Perona and or Sabo, I just didn't feel like I could, even though I don't know. I was just nervous at the fact that he could potentially get a really good trigger here, develop a body onto the board, and then KO Sabo, and he does exactly that. Using reject does get rid of Sabo, and now swinging 7 into life. I know that I really don't want to let myself get down to 0 here. I just get a little nervous at the fact that my opponent could potentially play around my blockers, and he's basically putting me on having a blocker for the following turn. So I definitely need to protect this life and kind of hope and pray that my opponent doesn't see like 7-cost Enel. I will counter out of it though with a Helmeppo and I believe the Perona that we picked up. And he is just going to slap down the Kiku Nojo though. And yet again, I find myself in this position where I don't know what my opponent's last life is. He's only got 1 card. And unfortunately, I make the gravest of mistakes here. It's a little bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. I should have more than likely swung with leader first to develop a board or develop a card and to get something out of trash, but unfortunately he is going to hit me with that Beige. It goes on to my leader. I'm thinking to myself like, oh man, now I've done it. I put myself in a spot. I don't have an 8-cost Moria, but luckily we do have a Borsellino to be, slapped down, and I'm just going to end up passing turn. And this was a really interesting like end game sequence here. I believe the top deck ended up being Momo, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, it was Reject. That's right. Reject to add the card to hand and to go for game. And no, it was really interesting. Like at the very end, he top decked the like almost perfect card to go for it. But an 8k swing with Kiku, I do end up blocking, and then a 9k, I was able to get out of it with two 2ks and a 1k. It was extremely close, came down to the wire, but a super solid match all around. And I was really excited about uploading this because I just thought it was a kind of like a fantastic back and forth the whole game. Little upsetting that I didn't get 8-cost Moria down that game, but you know, hey, it is what it is. And we end up taking home the dub. But let me know your thoughts, guys, as always, and I will catch y'all in the next one, all right? Peace.